the kids riding with Bill Kimmel Jr. in 69. They're out of turn 4. Green flag's out. Rick Harris, car number 3, down along the inside of Jerry Lee. They'll battle for the number 2 spot with Alan Williams Jr. in 76 out front. They complete lap number 1. Alan Williams Jr. with the lead, and Rick Harris now in second. Steve Mack in car number 47 dives down to the inside of Jerry Lee. And I think they're quickly finding out the inside lane is the way to go as they head back into turns 1 and 2. Winders goes down to the inside of Jerry Lee. That's the battle at 4th at the end of the backstretch. Chuck Barnes at car number 5 also up front with the race leaders. Here's Jerry Lee in the number 9 now, fighting back on the outside of Chuck Winters. They're side by side for 4th as they cross the start-finish line. Lee has the spot right now. Winters has the inside line. They're down the back straightaway. Alan Williams Jr. trying to hold on to the lead, but his car sweeps wide up the banking coming out of turn 4. Rick Harris out of Brooks, Kentucky, in car number 3 goes looking down to the inside. Down into turns 3 and 4, and Williams washes up the banking. Here comes Harris down to the inside. Chuck Winters now is on the move. He'll look to the outside of Steve Mack as they move down the back straightaway. As Williams continues to wash up the banking, I'm not sure Winters wants to go to the outside right now. He pulls up to the outside of Steve Mack, and again, this is the battle for the number 3 spot. Rick Harris in car number 3 now at second. It's Alan Williams Jr., the race leader. Here comes Winters to the outside. He's cleared Mack, and now he challenges the number 3 of Rick Harris for second. They're back into turns 1 and 2. Alan Williams Jr. with the number 1 spot, and again his car sweeps high up the banking in turn number 4. Chuck Winters right there on his back bumper. Rick Harris in the number 3 down to the inside of Winters. They'll battle second and third right there as they come out of turn 4. Again, a bottleneck for the lead spot as Alan Williams Jr. in the 76 continues to hold on to the number 1 spot and using that outside lane exiting turn 4. Rick Harris in the number 3 has the inside. Chuck Winters on the outside for second and third. Now Winters gets the jump on Harris and they head back into turns 3 and 4. Winters clears Harris for second now by a half car length as they move across the start-finish line and into turns 1 and 2. Winters ducks down underneath Jeff Johnson and moves into second. Here's Chuck Barnes now to the outside of Rick Harris. And suddenly the outside lane has been the fast lane. Steve Mack now in the 47 follows Barnes to the outside of Rick Harris for 4th place. Here's Chuck Winters now down to the inside of Alan Williams Jr. Down the back straightaway. Chuck Winters of Pleasure Ridge Park, Kentucky, looking for the lead. Here's Chuck Barnes now, nearly making it 3 abreast. Barnes is up to 3rd. Barnes is knocking on the back door of Chuck Winters' machine now as they move down the back straightaway. Down the front straightaway to the inside of Glenn Luckett. Alan Williams Jr. is forced to let off a little sooner than he'd like going into the turn. Drops back a bit. Now Winters has clear control of the race. But here's Chuck Barnes now moving up along the inside of Alan Williams Jr. Now moving into second place. Williams now dropping back to 3rd. Rick Harris will battle side by side with Steve Mack for 4th and 5th. Start. 4th, 5th row, I think. 3rd or 4th row. Wow. Here's Jeff Stith now in car number 94. He's making up some ground. shuffling down to the inside of Steve Mack. And that's the battle for the number 5 spot. Tim Parkerson has found the infield over in the second turn area. He keeps the car parked down on the inside apron. Leaders move past Parkerson now on the outside. 11 laps, soon to be 10 to go. It's Chuck and Chuck, first and second, just like the early parts of last week's feature event. Down the back straightaway, Barnes to the inside of Winders, and he'll back off a bit now. Heading out of turn number 4, it's Winders who sweeps up the banking. Here's Chuck Barnes. Chuck Barnes by just a nose that time as they cross the start-finish line now with 9 laps remaining. They're side by side, moving down into turns 3 and 4. Barnes, the defending Sportsman champion, backs off a bit. Now Winders goes out front. They're back into turns 1 and 2. 8 laps remaining. Moving in on some lap traffic now, Jeff Johnson in the number 23 machine. As they move out of turn 4. And here's Winders diving down to the inside of Jeff Johnson. Barnes backs off a bit and gives Winders racing room, and they move down the back straightaway. Out of turn number 4, and Michael Clark is the next car to go a lap down to the race leaders. As they move back into turns 1 and 2, Winders' car again carries a little higher through the turns than Barnes. Barnes is able to keep his car down along the inside. To go. They're back into turns 1 and 2. Meanwhile, the battle back in 3rd, 4th, and 5th is every bit as good as the race leaders who, whoa, and they hooked bumpers there momentarily, Barnes and Winders, but it looks like they've straightened out. But the battle at 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th and 7th is every bit as good as the race leaders. 4 to go. They're down the back straightaway. Chuck Winders looking for his 50th career feature event victory here at Louisville Speedway, and his 2nd in a row in the Sportsman division for 1996. They're back into turns 1 and 2. Barnes underneath and again backs off a bit. 3 to go. They'll be coming to 2 to go this time around. Down the front straightaway and into turns 1 and 2. Between Chuck Winders and Chuck Barnes, both drivers doing some very sportsman-like driving, each giving plenty of room and backing off when necessary. The white flag is out, 1 to go, and they're back into turns 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway, and again, Barnes and Winders hook bumpers heading into turns 3 and 4. Both cars straighten out once again. It's Barnes to the inside of Winders as they come across the start-finish line. Too close to call on that one, but I tell you what, that was a dandy. Every bit as good as the Outlaw figure 8s here tonight. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, we may have to reel the